know I did, and hopefully you guys had the same. And let's just jump right into it. As we can see, the market from the overnight session is fairly balanced, with most of the volume coming in here a little bit later. We are seeing a bit of upside early on today, and we will be looking for that continuation or monitoring for that continuation. We just had a little bit of a breakdown after putting in a poor high from the Globex session. The Globex session appeared to get some strength and is going to be probably, barring a liquidation, opening up on about a 10 handle gap. And so, as we know with gap rules, we'll look for the gap to fill often or early, and any gap that doesn't fill early, we will want to go with the gap. So if the market does not fill this gap to the low side, we want to make sure that we want to be placing some responsive longs or even some initiative longs, depending upon the tempo and the volume that comes into the market today. Key reference points that we're going to be watching are going to be that settle and the prior day's high. The settle was pretty much right at the balance high, so we'll look to see if the market gets accepted inside the previous day's value area. And then, of course, the previous day's halfback was an impulse area from Friday after it made a higher low to continue on up, right? As you guys know, I like to consider this an area of, oh, I'm on red. Let's switch back to green. I like the green better. I like to consider this area of what we call Brad prints, what I call Brad prints, right? They're like single prints, but not really single prints, but just an area of liquidation. And what we saw is the market got a little bit too short late in that session and moved up from there, right? We still have some right here as well. So this area down here could act as support. And so I'll be looking to see, first, the Globex point of control. We do have a pretty wide point of control down here, or wide area in the overnight session right here, 7. And so we can look for these areas to act as support here first, and then here second. If we don't get support in one of these areas, I'll look to see if the market can confirm lower, or confirm that it wants to continue lower, and be looking for it to trade back down to Friday's open, which we did not break, right? And they say a strong market doesn't break its open. Well, that's exactly what we saw Friday. We did have some volatility and a wide range, but as the day continued and shorter time frame traders got a little bit too short off of that NFP release, if you guys remember, they just traded up for the rest of the day. So that's something that we'll be monitoring for the day going into today's session. We only have about 9 minutes. I got started a little bit late today. I really went in depth with the trade view today. I wanted you guys, I had seen some people that seemed to be possibly struggling a little bit with their preparation or trade plan. So I wanted to really break it down and make it a little bit easier to go through. So hopefully that helped. If you guys didn't get a chance to check it out, check it out. You don't have to do it right now. But oh, what the fuck just happened? Check it out, and make sure to ask any questions if you have any questions about it. I'm just going to post this link real quick, and then we will get running. Giles, good morning. Double R, good morning. Roach, good morning. Adam, good morning. Alex, good morning. Austin, good morning. What is the OTF? Is one time framing. So the market's one time framing. Trin with the new logo. What's up, Trin? Tommy, good morning. Caesar, good morning. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead now that we've seen our market trying to break out a little bit higher off of, or before the market opens. Let's look to see if there is, or what's going on with the rest of the market here. Whoa. Let me move this out of the way. There we go. Sell. So we can see gold, which has had a breakout. Oh, that's an old logo. I guess I've just never seen it before. On there. Morning, Cam. So we can see gold is trading up overnight, right? It's on the upside. It's up about 0.14. The Nasdaq, the same thing, just had a bit of a liquidation break on the Nasdaq right against that upper trend line. That's something that we've been watching. And we want to see the Nasdaq really get above that trend line and take us higher. Buzz, good morning. Clipper. Yeah, definitely Clipper. I'll take a peek at it. Let me see. Yeah, we'll try to rush through this real quick. The Russell just trading up. The Dow also trading up. Bonds are trading up a bit as well. We can see Apple in the pre-markets coming up to its resistance as well. AMD had big liquidation just recently. So, maybe some news there. We'll have to take a peek. Amazon, similar. Google still trading up higher. Meta opening up on a gap, it looks like. Microsoft trading higher, trying to get above its resistance, but not holding. The Netflix is getting up to previous Friday's high and not holding, and we can see the VIX is up here just a little bit, opening up on a not a true gap. Oh, it still says trend. It's just like the logo is different. Let's get Reveille started, and then we'll jump into Bitcoin. Let me share sound. All right, we are ready. So if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin has broke out of balance. Remember, Bitcoin for a while has been kind of leading the pack as far as breakouts are concerned. And we can see we had a balance lower. I'm not sure why my TPO is not showing up on here, but we had this balance lower. We're now breaking up out of it. So we're going to be watching some of these highs up here. I don't know why my drawings aren't showing up either. Here we go. And so we can see it's coming right up to that top level. And so above that 24, and this is kind of the area that we've talked about, if there is no responsive action, which we have kind of seen some responsive action last time we were up here, traded back down, but we really didn't trade back very far. We've seen these two areas act as support. And so a breakout of this level, really there's one more mechanical level above, which is the 25,000, but above the 25,000, I think there's good odds that it trades back up into the 27. Remember, there's still, a lot of hype surrounding Bitcoin, and there can still be a little bit of volatility increased in it. But right now it is, pretty much one time framing up with a little bit of balancing up at the high. So the key going into today is to see if it holds this upper distribution. You can see how it's kind of formed a triple distribution here, and which is common in a 24-hour chart. But see if it holds this upper distribution. If it holds that upper distribution, look to take that high. You have hot excess on the high. If it doesn't, look for it to gain some support on that weekly VWAP, and then come back up into that upper distribution. Remember, it does have balance below, so if it doesn't get accepted up here, there's good odds that it will trade back down into previous balance, which would take you down to that 2346 or 2346.3. All right, we've got about 2 minutes left. So let's prepare. Everyone do what you need to do to get ready to start this wonderful day. Shit. There it is. I couldn't find my time in sales. We got 1 minute left. We'll go ahead and put Apple up as it's been the leader lately. Let me update this real quick. Did it? All right, here's the open. Let's see what we get. We're opening up right on the VPOC. Remember, we're opening up on a gap. The gap would be down to the prior day high. Market's trading above the open. Finding some buyers right on the open here. Sellers trying to sell down the 64. They get it. Looking to close the gap. Remember, the gap's down here, 53.25. Looking for this Globex point of control to trade, the 56, to see if buyers are willing to step up in that area. A little bit of short covering going on down there at the 61. Back above the open. Weak spot on the profile, 66.25. Sellers come back down below it. See if these buyers are willing to step up above the open and initiate. We didn't close that gap right away, right? And then traded back above the open. That's kind of showing us a little bit of weakness from sellers early on in the session. Weak spot on the profile, 67.75 here. Sellers can't move below that level. They look like they're going to probably be trapped. The bot got into a put for AMD. It opened on a pretty big move lower, it looked like. Another weak spot here, 69.25. So didn't even get down to that Globex point of control. Market's trading up. You can see some buyers coming in on that 40.70 and then some short covering from the overnight session. Today we might get that break of balance that we've been looking for. Look at Apple's breaking out here. See the tick is, pretty high up there. You can see the advanced decline is way up here. And the volt is really kind of just muted for the most part. Weak spot below is 69.25. So below 69.25, they'll target that previous day's high, which is here. Or yeah, T2 high, which is 63. But doesn't look like they're going to get down there. Volume just keeps coming in. Boom. Let's take that high. Don't mind if we do. Okay, so first test failure. A little bit of profit taking right here early on. Weak spot below is 73 here. They done. Let's go. Jason Taylor, yo, good morning. Crypto Mojo, good morning, good morning. Nelson, can we take a look at BTC in a bit? Looks like it might break out. Yes, we can. So back to this weak spot. See if buyers are willing to show up right here. So a little bit of backing and filling here. So this would be showing of strength from buyers if buyers are able to keep moving higher, right? They came back to that 41.72 here, which is where we saw the volume come in early, and they keep holding it. Sellers trying to smack us down here. Try not to trade for the first 10 minutes every day. Thomas, good morning. There goes. So a little bit of covering again right at that Globex high. So that's a mechanical high, but buyers just still not willing to take the high yet. So there may be an auction back down here, maybe looking for that open. So just be careful here. Right, we still haven't got this confirmation to take breakout trades yet.
Got an early half pipe forming.
We do, yes. An early double distribution, or what we call here at the trade vets a half pipe. And you can see where volume came in initially off the open, and volume's coming in around this 72 here. So if sellers can't make distinctive action down here and fill in this weak spot, right, we'll consider this weak spot here as single prints, right? Or, you know, or use them as single prints act. And we know single prints act as support and resistance depending upon where the market is. So if they can't get back down in here and fill this area with some initiative or some responsive selling at the top of balance, because that's where we're at, then, you know, we'll be kind of put off by any short trades for the most part. If they are able to get back down in there, that just shows that the buying is a little bit weak, not necessarily that the selling is very strong. Seems like a lifetime. A little bit of liquidation from these buyers up here at 70.25. So they tried to hold that level and weren't able to hold it. So let's see if there's backing and filling. If these sellers are strong, they're going to start pressing, and their target is going to be that 63. That's going to, that's going to try to take the market back into this balance, right? We're kind of back in there now. This balance high is the 71. I guess we could mark this level here. Starting to get a little bit of rolling over. Look at Apple, excuse me. Tick is starting to come down a little bit. Look how responsive the buyers seem to be here, though, as far as how the market starts to tick up once it ticks down, right? The move starts to be, it looks to be a bit more aggressive to the upside than it is. So sellers need to hold this below this 70.25 here. Failure to hold below 70.25, that's probably where they'll look to, you know, go test that high again. There they go, they give it up. Trying to work on your patience. If anybody has some tips, please share. Brad is the master and calm and collected. It just comes from experience. You know, I think that Atomic Habits really helps. If you haven't picked that up or read that, I think that can really help you, because it helps you understand why you're doing the things that you do. And you know, I think really just a self-understanding can go such a long way. Even though the book, you know, a lot of people are kind of turned off by the book because it doesn't necessarily pertain to the market, so they don't really, You know, they're like, man, I don't want to read it because it does not teaching me anything about the market. But honestly, with the market being so psychology based, in my opinion, um, if you have a strong hold on your personal psychology, you know, I think that it just goes such a long way. Google's breaking out. I've been waiting for this forever, just been sitting in a losing Google position. Come on, Google, let's go. You know, we've been talking about this. Google opened up on a gap today, and it's just looking like it wants to go. I've been just waiting for Google to take us to the promised land, right? And so let's see if we can get it. Starting to get a little bit of short covering here. Let's see if these shorts are ready to give up. Remember at the top of balance, a breakout of balance, and this is something I was writing down yesterday. Crypto Kaias, hello. Something I was writing down yesterday. Where's my notes at? I wrote down a breakout of balance normally marks a new short-term auction. So if we do break out of this balance, we would just assume that there's a intermediate time buyer stepping into the market to take the market higher. Seeing a little bit of offer move in on the 75 here. In rad, I'm not sure if I have double R. Here, let me pull up Bitcoin. People wanted to look at Bitcoin. Market is trying to break out of balance here. See the volume coming in higher. And remember, failure to hold above this volume is really going to show a little bit of weakness from buyers. And we've got to be careful because we still have that gap. We just haven't closed it and didn't close it really early. But, you know, the session is we still have about 20 minutes left in this first TPO. And typically that's how I determine, you know, if the strength of the gap close. So I still have 20 minutes to try to close this gap. Where's trading view at? So who was it that asked? Reyes, good morning. Martin, good morning. Who was it that asked? Nelson. So yeah, so with Bitcoin balancing, right, and kind of just pressed right through this previous balance area, this is kind of showing us that these prices were already accepted. Let me grab my pen. So these prices were already accepted, right? And you have this pretty much just one time frame all the way through to the high of this balance area. So a break above this balance area is really going to put that 25,000 back into question. And if there's no responsive seller that comes into the market and pushes the market back down into this balance area, I could really see us moving up here, gathering a little bit, finding the buyers we need, accepting these prices, and then, you know, a true breakout, I think, is probably going to take to the 27,000, as that's where we see, if we scroll back here pretty far. Yeah, I could hear you. As we could see, this kind of thin area before it gets back to the low. ES is trying to break out here. Hang on, let's look at.
With this being a previous value area high as well, there's this the kind of firecracker effect that Jim talks about a lot, you know?
Yes. And so what we're looking for here is looking for this big continuation and capitulation from the sellers, and then we're looking for these buyers to really step up here. And so as we're trying to break out of this range and we're breaking out of that 3-month range, we want to scroll back to nice. Hang on, guys, I gotta adjust my positions. Can't do it. It's not fast enough. Okay, there we go. Okay. Sorry. And so we switched to the monthly or the weekly real quick, and we could see that next weekly high, or next kind of area where we have this agreement or equilibrium, was pretty much right here, this 4205, 4204 level. And then above that, you have that week reference up here at the 4303 on the weekly. And then if we look at the monthly, right, the monthly we are balancing, but we're looking to break out of this lower balance. And so that would, you know, the target here would be that 43.03. I really think that is a target. I know we've been talking about it for, you know, seems like forever, and it has really seemed like the market has kind of failed to figure out what it wants to do. And, you know, I've been trying to, or kind of like foreshadowing, or I guess like, you know, the market's been saying that's where it wants to go, right? It's just struggling to go there because of all the bad news that's coming out, and it's keeping a lot of people on the sidelines because they're afraid of, you know, whatever they're afraid of. Adam, good morning. Pop, good morning. And so that seems like the next target to the upside, but we do have to remember, and I want to this, and this is why I'm bringing this up, because, excuse me, we're breaking out to the upside on a monthly, and we have monthly excess right here. So this is a normally longer time frame trader holding this position and could easily come in and press the market down, right? So we need to pay attention to volume. We're going to pay attention to our other indices and our other stocks, and our other sectors, but we do have to maintain perspective. I know I'm always looking for the long, and I'm always like, yes, let's go long. Like, but I do truly use things like this to help me maintain perspective, because I don't want to get caught in a false breakout as well, right? And typically on a breakout, you know, you will have time. So when we're monitoring for continuation on this breakout, there will be time to enter the market, right? So don't feel like, oh shit, I'm missing it, I need to fucking jump in and buy this because I'm gonna miss it, and then boom, you buy the high, right? You will typically have time on a breakout as the market slowly gets accepted to the upside. As we do get accepted, as the days go on, or as time goes on, right? And I know a lot of people out there say that time doesn't mean anything, and it's all about volume and bleebity blobbity. But, you know, as time goes on, we're tracking value, right? And value is only developed over time. And so as value develops higher, it tells us where the market wants to go. And that's kind of up for us to decide, or up for us to decipher. It's rejecting a previous day's high. What is Bitcoin? No, Bitcoin's already broken up. The previous day's high. Oh, you're talking about like way back here. Oops. Just that. Doesn't look like it's rejecting anything to me. The day. You're talking about over here? Yeah, so this high on that holiday was 41.87. So we haven't got up there yet. We're almost above that previous FOMC, and this is from back in May, this previous FOMC, which is kind of where this big sell-off started from. But this was a holiday, and so really on the daily, if we zoom in here, you can kind of see the next level up would be that 40.52. And then if we look, this 43.21 is the 200 SMA, which we haven't been up to, you know, since, what day was this? This was back in April. And so that 43.03, 43.20, 43.2081, it's all kind of just lining up. Oh, okay, you're trading the Nasdaq. My bad. Let me switch on the Nasdaq. Yeah, the Nasdaq's still coming above this trend. And if the Nasdaq breaks this trend, and you can see that the consolidation zone that the ES is in, the Nasdaq's already broken above it. So the next balance zone or balance high for the Nasdaq would be that 13,567. 13567. Computer's kind of lagging today.
Hey, do you have any idea what's up with AMC and GME?
Are they skying?
Well, they're just not giving me valid data.
AMC. We'll pray for AMC to go up for Jared's cousin. I know Jared's cousin is a longtime holder of AMC, so he wants it to go up. Here, let's just go.
Maybe it's just my thing then.
Yeah, it looks like
Maybe
it's
it's just the
gapping
way
up.
TD is downloading it.
A lot of
Okay,
times
cool.
on sellers trying to offer this 81 here, and they're not doing a good job. A lot of times when AMC and GME bounces, the market bounces, and that's kind of an indication that the market wants to go up. It's been, I know it seems kind of weird, but it has been that way lately, and typically a gap, right, would signify the entrance of it, at least an intermediate time frame trader here into GME. So let me watch for that. Yeah, but it must be the
Okay.
download.
Let's see. It's just giving me weird data. So, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep. Google's really trying to break out here, guys. Google gets above that 120. That 121 is pretty much a key or kind of an easier target there. So sellers do defend that 81 there. We're coming back down here a little bit. Remember, balance high is still pretty far down here. We can see the Globex low here. So let's see if we get any buying off that Globex low. So let's see if they can continue this breakout here. They tried to hold the 81. They weren't successful. The market's trading up above the 81. Borden's barking. Borden! Maya, see if he wants to go outside. Weak point 83 quarter. You just got some short covering from that 83 quarter there. See if they hold it. So they do. They hold it. Next target's going to be that FOMC level. And remember that level was 187 from before. Google's still on a tear here. A peek around the market. Pretty much everything is up. Except AMD. AMD's on its way down still, but making a little bit of a bounce. Volume coming in up here. Next offer's up at 90. So these offers are just kind of stacking every, what looks like kind of every 5 points here. We've got one on 90. So there's one on 95. One on the 00, 644 lots up there. Offer still sitting on the 85 here, 220, 240 lots. There goes some shorts. Weak spot on the profile is 85 now. So all those sellers that were sitting on the 85 just got scooped up big time. So look to see if this is profit taking or if they're actually going to go. Big sell orders come in on the 84, 155 lots, 105 lots as well. So pretty back and forth there. Not seeing any big offers really move down. Just backed and filled right there. And look where the point of control moved up to, right to the top. So let's see if they're just going to keep pressing it. And this thing has an early indication of a trend day. We did not fill the gap. Gap rules state we want to go with any gap that does not fill early. All right, we got 6 minutes until B session opens up. Another distribution where this previous Globex high, you can see where everyone liquidated from Globex. Looking pretty extended on the hourly. Do you think the pull back to 3,500 then a move higher later in the session? Let me look. I don't know. I mean, it is extended, but there's nothing really saying that it wants to go back down, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing, no big, like, indication. 341 lots sitting on the 90 on the ES here. These are old singles if you don't count the half day. Broke the previous day's high, but still struggling. Oh, Nasdaq, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it does look extended. I'm not gonna lie. I agree with you. We're in this previous balance, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it start to balance a little bit, but I wouldn't really I wouldn't get worried until you break this distribution, right? We have this upper distribution, this kind of a triple distribution, and you know, you've got all these single prints in here. So until it really fills, and you even have single prints here above, so until it fills these single prints, really there's no indication that any downside is going to happen. I could see us just kind of balancing here and then trying to go for a breakout or a breakdown. It's tough. It's tough to tell, to be honest. Pretty much everything is moving up here now. Apple's still doing okay. A little bit of resistance, but Apple opened up on a gap and didn't close its gap either. Also the 3-month high. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of what we're looking to see, if we're going to get this acceptance above or below this level. And that's that 76.75. So it's kind of like this same here. See? That's where it was, 76.75. So that's kind of where we're looking to see if the market just gets accepted up here above. Feels weird, Jason? Yeah, I mean, the Nasdaq's been a big leader lately, and so it makes sense. But it is breaking above trend, a trend that it's held, right, since, I mean, honestly, since the all-time high, but since the beginning of the year here. So there's no reason to try to fight it. I know it's common human psychology to want to trade against the trend. Something Jim always said in his books was you'd save the value of his book 10 times over if you would just trade with the trend. And there's nothing really telling us that sellers are coming into the market, especially not aggressively yet. So there's no point really to trade against the trend. I took my trade and could have re-entered, but thought the risk is higher and better wait for the next period. Yeah, that's a good idea, Tommy. Yeah, and you've got 2.5 minutes left until the next period, so of course, Clipper, anytime. Yeah, you know what I mean, Jason? Like, it's just, it's so natural because we're just like, and think about it like a product, right? And think about it like a product you buy. I actually watched this little clip from Mark Cuban, and he's talking about when he goes shopping, and he was talking about buying toothpaste, and he's like, when I go to the store and I see that toothpaste is on sale, I buy all of them. He's like, why? Because it's something that I'm going to be using all the time. He's like, so why not have them all if they're on sale? He's like, they're never going to go bad, and I'm just going to keep using them. And I was like, dang, that's a good idea, right? But if you think about it, if something's on a deal, you're always like, yeah, let me get some of that. Even if you don't need it, a lot of times you go to the store, you see something's on sale that you like, you're always like, oh, I'll just grab one, it's on sale, right? At least I do. I always buy shit on sale. That's just how I am. But when you go to the store and you see something that's not on sale that you normally get, and you're like, whoa, that's more than I normally pay for it, you don't grab it, right? It doesn't go in your grocery cart. What do they call it in England? The carriage. It doesn't go in the sack, right? You don't pick it up. And the trolley, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, they call it a trolley, bro.
A trolley. Okay. I was trying to figure it out. All right, so but you know what I mean? You don't get it. You're just like, I'll just, when I come back next time, maybe I'll get it if it's on sale. And so what happens in human psychology is when the market's up, kind of like we've seen, right? It did balance a little bit, but we've basically just been trading up for the most part. We're kind of like, our brain is telling us there's no way this can continue. And if we look back, right? If we look back, where's the ES at? If we look back and you look on a longer scale, this is the COVID low, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You get my point here. What, Curtis? Yeah, okay. No. You're not playing the Switch. So, all right. Don't ask me again. I'll take it away for the whole day. But you see what I mean? Like, people were convinced that price wasn't gonna go up because of everything that was going on. They're like, there's no way it can keep going up. And so they would get short, right? And then the market would take a breath, and then everyone would be like, it's gonna fucking die. And then they'd pile in, right? And then look what happened. They missed out on one of the most amazing bull runs in my lifetime, for sure. I mean, look at these ranges, right? Very volatile market, but the range that it put in went from 3,000 to almost to 5,000, so a 2,000 point range. Imagine if during COVID you would have just, and honestly, it went from 2,100 to 4,800, so more than double. But imagine if you just bought one ES contract during March or during April or even during May. Right? Let's say if you bought one the high of that May, which would be 30, 49, 45, right? So 30, 49, and we'll minus it from, let's just call it 4,800, would be 1,751 points, and you times that by 50, that's $87,000, right? And all you had to do was just buy and just sit there. Right? Because everybody else, retail traders, were just selling the whole time because they were just so convinced that the market was going to go down based off of bad news. Well, that's kind of why I'm convinced that the market hasn't been going down recently, because I think they are doing a bit of fear mongering where they're putting out bad news. Like, if you turned on the TV this weekend, everything was just pure bad news all weekend. Everything just fucking, there's bad stuff going on in Gaza. Israel is bombing Palestine again, right? China issues, right? There's just so much shit going on all the time, and it's like, well, if everything is so bad, how come the jobs numbers were good? And how come unemployment is only 3.5%? Right? What's it going to look like when stuff is bad? Are we going to have negative, like, unemployment? Like, I don't understand. So the data is not really reflecting the tone or the atmosphere that they're trying to project on the TV. And that's human psychology, because they know how humans are, right? a lot of these people that run the country, they're not dumb, right? We might think they're dumb, and we're like think they make dumb decisions, but that's just because of a lot of us here are a little bit more informed than most. Whereas your average person, you know, they're just looking on the news and they're like, oh shit, the economy's down, but they don't look at the numbers, right? And we don't really care about the numbers for trading, but we do care about the numbers when it comes to maintaining a perspective. And that's going to kind of help you. That's what helps me, you know, maintain my objectivity when it comes to developing a bias, right? And it helps me not, you know, get so narrow-minded and focused on, okay, well, the market's going to crash because it's just up too high. It's got to come down, right? Just a little rant there.
Well, Brad, I'm not going to say I had a good night last night, but Warren Buffett did call me afterwards and ask me how I did it. You know, I wanted to get a little inside information. Tell me to fucking retire, you greedy motherfucker. You got great grandchildren, graduating college haven't met you yet. Try to be sending your cardboard cutouts for the graduations. You know. No, it's all right. It is weird to be like 90, just still working. You know, just who cares about? You know,
a lot of
rest life.
times, you know, people want to keep working because they feel like if they stop working, they'll die. You know, my grandfather that lives out in Texas, he's worked heavy equipment his entire life. He actually works on the ranch for the guy that owns the Texas Rangers, and you know, he could definitely retire. His house has been paid off since the 70s. You know, he lives on a farm that's been paid off forever. But he doesn't want to quit working, and he still wakes up at the crack of dawn to drive to Dallas to work on this farm, and doesn't doesn't stop working, even though he definitely could, because that's how he feels. Feels like if he stops working, then his body will just be like, oh, you're not working anymore? Well, guess you're good to go. Time to call it.
Yeah, they have psychiatrists for that.
Little offer moving down. We got a little bit of liquidation there. Let's see if they bring it back up to where volume's at. B period wasn't able to take the high. We put in that poor high there. So now we have a developing poor high. The breadth is very strong. Well, you got to think the breadth is strong, and the market is, I mean, it's not really consolidating, right? We broke out on a gap. Or maybe on a shorter time frame, like if we were to switch to like a 5-minute chart or something like that, you know, maybe, you know, kind of just holding it up here at the highs. But we've, like I said, we've got to remember, as we're coming up to this trend, especially on the Nasdaq, where it's coming up to, oh, there's the Nasdaq, especially as it's coming up to this resistance level that's been acting as resistance. This is a spot, a fair spot for an initiated or a responsive seller to enter the market, right? So if you're bearish on the market and you're on Nasdaq here, we can see it's kind of breaking out, and I'll just go to a weekly so we can get a little bit more space here. But if you're a responsive seller or a larger time frame seller or a longer term seller, where's a good spot for you to get in? Obviously not down here where we're balancing, right? And you imagine, okay, we saw buyers give up, so you got short, came in, market consolidated, balanced, is breaking out of balance. Well, this is where buying shut off last time, so this is a spot where you should be responsively, you know, responsively entering the market as a longer term seller, right? And if you are selling here, right, and they'd probably have their stops right here, which would take us up to this level, and you probably see some more responsive selling up here around that 14,000, and then, you know, again here, right? The Nasdaq's put in a lot of you know, even highs, and if we switch this here, futures, to show the extended hours, you can see the tails a little bit more here on the Nasdaq, because it's, you know, a little bit more volatile than the ES, of course. But, you know, we can see even even, close to even. Right, so these are levels where it's not that a big seller was able to just control the market. It was a combination of a longer time frame seller entering the market when buying dried up. So if they sold here and they were successful last time, what are they going to do this time? The same thing. People are creatures of habit. Big buy order on the 180 418400 lots. Yeah, I mean, look, the advanced decline is doing okay. You can see the sectors, financials are pretty almost green, about, pretty close. Our heaviest weighted sector, information technologies, up 0.5%. Consumer discretionary up 1.2. Healthcare still kind of balancing around, not really doing much. And so really a good thing to do here would be to take a peek at some of these weaker sectors and see what's going on here. So Johnson & Johnson being our heaviest weight. Make this big. Our heaviest weight in the healthcare sector, right? Struggling, but still within its Friday's range. And so what would we do here? We see this excess down here that it's coming into. So if we're going to get more weakness in the healthcare sector, Johnson & Johnson's going to have to break below this level. So we'll put an alert there and monitor. All right, let's see. Let's find another one. What do we say? Financials are doing weak. Let's see. Yeah, we said financials are struggling a little bit. So let's look at some financials here. Visa, right? Still down, but I mean, still way up. And here's our excess down here. So until we get a break of this level here, we can just assume that, even though they're showing a bit of weakness today, that they're still strong. Chips, I don't know if this is just Nancy Pelosi probably slinging all those calls she bought. Energy's still looking good. MasterCard. All right, MasterCard had some excess as well. So we'll create an alert, put it below. Let's see. Lilly had a big tail down to the bottom today, but it's since bounced back above its open. Bank of America coming down to some excess here, so we would definitely want to watch that. That seems to be leading the financials lower here. Abivai is doing good, really good. Thermo Fisher. Let's get one more day on here. Let's go. I mean, it's not really, nothing's really doing too terrible. But I mean, nothing's really saying that the downside is coming. You can see the tick hasn't even traded once below zero. We are struggling up here, but you've got to think about that, right? You've got to think about what it's going to take for the market to move higher, right? The market's going to need to find these initiated buyers and get accepted at these higher prices. If not, it will trade back down. There's no way to know for sure. We can't predict the future. We just have to assume, right? And this would be a great spot if you are a longer term seller to enter the market, right? So we are getting responsive selling at these higher prices, which 100% makes sense. Healthcare just flipped green. The financials are just struggling. Industrials really don't matter that much. So look for, if there is a liquidation, target would probably be that 74 quarter. That's a half back so far where buyers may step up, and that would be kind of the slower distribution here. Right, and you can kind of see this area of B, or area of A, excuse me, kind of acting as a bit of resistance for these people on the downside. A little bit of short covering coming in here at the 80. And the VWAP is right here at the 80 as well. So weekly VWAP's down at the 70, 75. Typically a narrow initial balance means that the market is indecisive and will probably turn into a trend day if there's a breakout. But yeah, so if there's a narrow initial balance, typically it's really tough, especially lately, because we've been seeing like, you know, these A and B periods hold for so long, and then all of a sudden there's a breakout and just a failure and then back into balance. So it's kind of a tough to say, but for me, when I'm looking at something like that, which I'm not a huge tracker of initial balance, right? And I kind of think that the S&P, especially especially with these ranges that we've seen since the start of the year, I've been kind of tracking the first 3 periods as initial balance. And if we were to, you know, if we were to break this out and kind of, how do we do them all? Okay. Up this one. Okay. So if we want to go back real quick and just kind of take a look while the market's just kind of doing its thing, while we're in this balance area, right? So here's A, B, and C, and this is kind of how I've been doing it, right? And this is not a by the book thing, but so here's A and then B and C, and then eventually once you get a break of that, and this one just happens to be A and B, right? C was inside B, but a break of that, you really start to move, right? And this profile was, you know, pretty much up. It trended up pretty much all day, a little bit of a pullback. Same thing here. Here's A, B, and C, right? And the market's completely contained in that A, B, and C level. D puts in that poor high, but still doesn't trade back down to A. Balanced day. Here's here A, B, and C. The market trades. It breaks out, fails to get accepted above C, and then turns back into balance. A, B, C, right? Breaks out of the B high, trends. A, B, C, stays inside those ranges the whole day. A, B, D was inside B, stayed in balance. And then today we're on A and B. And so that's kind of the reason I've been, oops. Oh my goodness. That's kind of the reason I've been using A, B, and C as like kind of an initial balance or initial support and resistance, because I think that some of the market players are taking a little bit more time to really decide what they want to do. You know what I mean? Like, and I know, and I even got reamed by this from James because he's like, you can't just make up your own rules. And I was like, I can and I have, you know? And it's something that Jim talks about all the time, is if there is other ways to look at the profile and the basic principles are not distorted, then it's still valid. And initial balance is only considered the first 30 or first 60 minutes, right? The first 2 periods, because of commodities, I mean, right? And I think initial balance in stocks is the first 30 minutes. You know, and so it's hard really to decide on what is going to be your initial balance. But what I would do, what I do recommend is to pick one and then look back and see what you see and see if that helps you out, see if that helps you trade, right? Or see if it helps you establish boundaries and what type of trade you want to establish, or what type of trade that you want to use. Talk about flat. Yeah, it is. I mean, getting kind of flat. Been almost an hour and we're not moving higher, but it could happen. Yeah, I mean, you can see the breath cooling off here a little bit too. You can see Google's pulling back here a little bit. Apple also pulling back here a little bit. Amazon pulling back a bit. The Dow, it's kind of just balancing higher. Google's pulling back a little bit. Meta pulling back a little bit, put good excess on the high. Microsoft triple top from its Globex, so Microsoft not able to break its Globex high. Netflix balancing higher. Triple Q bouncing higher, but it did take the high. And Tesla back above that 900 level, but still balancing here a little bit. And Tesla got that nice sell-off at the end of the day, but didn't matter. Not for me, at least. Can you repeat that, Brad? I've never heard that before about the different initial balance. So like here, and it's just for me, right? It's just something that I do. So in simple words, initial balance is the price data which formed during the first hour of trading. Activity of traders forms in the so-called initial balance at this time. This concept was introduced by Peter Stoudemire when he first presented the market profile to traders, right? But he was trading on futures and commodities. And so if we type in is initial balance different stocks. I don't know. I guess we can't find it. Who knows? I mean, just for me, right? It's something that I've seen lately, and when the market gets so volatile like it has been, it just seems like you can give it a little bit of extra time. If that's something that you're waiting to form and you want to trade responsive trades for the whole day, I think doing yourself a favor and waiting that extra half hour is going to help you in that first 90 minutes, right? It's not like I said, it's not in the book. It's not something that anybody teaches because it's not by the book, but it's just something that I've noticed and something that I track, right? And I don't really call it an initial balance. We can call it Brad's balance, because it's 3 periods and 3 is my, favorite number. So, maybe that's, maybe when I write my own book, that's what I'll put it as. But it's not, it's just something that I've noticed. And that's because, I mean, you look at the ranges here, look at the ranges on the ES. Where's the ES at? Comparatively, especially this year, give us some more time here. I mean, look at these ranges here. Look how tight these ranges are, right? Some volatility in here. Some volatility in here. This is back 2017, but look, everything is pretty much muted. Right? Really small. Really small. Look how muted this move up is out in 2018. Here's the COVID break. Big break, but I mean this until you start getting small ranges, we go from March to May, right? 2 months. And the ranges go back to being small. Look, they go all the way small, all the way. These are small ranges, right? A little bit of volatility in here, but it doesn't last. A little bit of volatility in here, doesn't last. Look how small these ranges get. A little bit of volatility in here, doesn't last. A little bit of volatility in here, doesn't last. Same idea. Every pullback, there's the volatility, but it never lasts. And then you go to this year and look at these fucking ranges. Look at the ranges. I mean, like, look at these days. We've had a couple small days. But look at this here. Let's see. Where's my studies? Edit studies. There's my ATR bubble. We'll change it to the daily, and let's put it on. How many days are we into the year? Does anybody know? We're 8 months. 8 times 3 is 24. So let's go. Oh, 8 times 30. 240. 240 days. And look at your average range. 74 handles. 74 points for the year so far, right? That's a pretty significant range. I'm not saying that if there's a bigger range, then you should have a longer initial balance. I'm saying that in context, it makes sense that initial balance will be bigger because of how sustained these larger ranges are, right? Take a look at the VIX. Where's the VIX at? So here is, what year is this? That's 14. We've been above 20. I mean, since
Today's day 220.
since April 2020. We've been above 20, right, on the VIX. So there just hasn't been a time before where we really sustained a VIX that's been above 20, right? Look at this, right? Maybe back here, and this is, what is this, probably 2000. Oh, this is the COVID. You know what I mean? Like, we really, since COVID, we really haven't sustained levels above 20. And so it makes sense as the market evolves and the market starts to change for us to evolve with it. And that's just something that I've, and I'm not trying to convince you. Well, this is a cool look. Forgot that I had all those underneath there. That's pretty cool. I'm not trying to convince you one way or another and say that I'm right or that I'm wrong. It's just, in context, it just makes sense that, as the market continues to evolve, that we should also evolve with it. A little bit of a liquidation break here. Weak spot above 77.50. Watch this half back, and we're in this lower distribution. So if there is going to be continued upside, buyers need to backfill this area. So we've come back down into our lower part of the half pipe. We should ride back up and fill this in. The weak spot's still 77.50. If buyers get above 77.50, they'll look to trade back to that 80. That 80 was a big level earlier. Remember all those stops that got ran from 80 to 85. Well, being that the NQ is naturally more volatile, I think the 30 initial balance would be better to use, just in your opinion. Honestly, I haven't looked at the Nasdaq enough to really give you a gauge. I definitely can, and I could get back to you in the Discord for sure. But I just haven't given it enough look to to really give you a solid answer.
So what, besides leap year, what day do you think is the least, birthday? Is day of the year that has the least amount of birthdays on it?
The least birthdays?
Yeah.
Oh, probably September 14th. What's your name in the Discord, Jason? Is it the same? C period's opening up inside B period, so the market's balancing, right? B period's inside A period, C period is inside B period. So this is one of those times where I'm thinking to myself, okay, the market's balancing higher. Now, is C period going to look to take the A low? And if it does, are sellers going to move in and initiate at these lower prices because they responded here at this AB high? Or is C going to take the high of the AB, clean up that poor high, and get initiated buyers to step up and continue higher? Weak spot above is going to be that 83 here. Rojo 23. Okay, I'll just tag you in it, bro. You see the breadth is starting to pick up, and the weighted sectors are starting to pick up a little bit here as well. Financials are almost flipping green. Healthcare is picking up some steam. This pullback during B period looked like it was caused by mostly information technology, our heaviest weighted sector. But now you see our heaviest weighted sector, which was up at 0.5, at 0.3 here. You clean it, Maya? Nice.
It was July 5th.
Oh, July 5th.
But what I thought was interesting that the other nine of the top 10 most popular birthdays are in the same week in September. That's kind of weird.
Well, September is 9 months from the new year, so those are Christmas babies. That's when I was born, in September.
Right, yeah. Yeah. September.
Back down to this 78. I'm looking to see these buyers step up here and hold this B low as excess. If not, I'm gonna have to cut this trade. Liquidation here on the 77.5 there. Sellers trying to offer down here. They're looking to target that B low. Our weighted sectors are coming down a little bit. Information technology is really the thing that's struggling here, which has been the leader lately. So you see short covering right there on that 76. Offer is moving down here, trying to hold the 78.50. You can see they're trying to hold below the point of control, but C wasn't really able to get down. You can see how, look at where the point of control's at, and then look where the volume's at, 363. So that's kind of telling us that these sellers weren't really initiating at lower prices and aren't really willing to chase, right? If they're going to responsively sell, they're going to responsively sell towards the day's high. Ask and you shall receive. Look at the Nasdaq starting to pop. Look at the weighted sector starting to pop. Information technology just jumped from 12 to 30. Back to the point of control. B high is mechanical. Shorter time frame traders selling the B half back. Weak spot on the profile is 79. If they don't get it below 79, obfuscate. It's over. Joining a bit late, was in Jim Dalton's live class. Dude is hilarious when answering questions. What's up, Ace? Yeah, he is. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, and if you ask a dumb question, he's just like dumb at, like, you know, he just doesn't care. It's awesome. He's like, don't waste my time with dumb questions. Like, he's just, it's awesome. So still not able to get below that 79 quarter there. 79 quarter is a weak spot here below. So sellers not willing to move down and initiate at that point of control, that BPOC. And there is the result. Remember, the volume up here is at 85. That's where we saw those big trades earlier, was 85 right here. You can see where that next volume spot is. So now we've got a little mini half pipe moving up here. A little bit of profit taking here. How are you liking the class so far, Ace? I'm sure it's good. I mean, Jim's the master, so. Very good. Nice. Well, take some good notes, and then, you know, when you come back, or once the class is over, what do you guys have till Wednesday again, right? Is it 7 days or is it till Friday? Once the class, oh, it's Thursday. Okay. Yeah. So once the class is over, come back and share the things that you picked up with the community. That'd be great. And Jim emailed us his schedule for the fall intensive. Let me pull it up. Say courses. Yeah, here it is. So he just announced his fall intensive is going to be October 5th to November 3rd. And normally he starts a little bit early and starts adding a bunch of stuff. So if you have an opportunity and have got the money to jump in that fall intensive, it's going to be $1,100. Market's trying to pop up a little bit here. He did put in the email that I received that they are not going to be accepting people that have not taken the e-course, the foundation e-course, and then even I don't think he said anything about the advanced nuances, because I think that's a lot of what they go over just live. But if you haven't taken this e-course, you have to take that e-course before you're able to join that fall intensive. If you ask me, I think it's 100% worth the money. Yeah, they're really pushing the foundational e-course. It'll just depend if they get enough people to sign up, then they'll hold it to it. But if not, I don't know. I had done both classes before I took an intensive, so and I think it really would help. So I think it would be beneficial to take those courses first. Anyways, it's just that they are a bit pricey, so I know it can be a little bit difficult. Volume here is about 5% more than yesterday. Thomas said, so are responsive sellers or buyers more of smart money as they are not chasing? Correct. Right. Sellers and buyers that are responsive are typically more longer term, or are in the market for longer term, not day trading like we are doing here, like I am doing here. Most of these responsive traders are what do we call long money, or what Jim calls other time frame traders. Right? Because remember, we have, there's so many time frames. You could pick whatever time frame you want, right? You could pick a 1 minute, a 5 minute, a 2 minute. I've even seen people trading on a 3 minute, 15, 30, 1 hour, 4 hour, whatever. People always have all these different time frames. So you've got to remember, if you're trading, and let me just show you guys something real quick. So like, imagine if we're trading on a 5 minute chart, right? Oh, god damn it. Oh, they all have them on there. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's just get rid of all these studies. Study. Oh, okay, perfect. All right, so imagine if you're trading the Nasdaq on a 5 minute chart, right? So where do we obviously see support and resistance? So here's some support down here, right? Here's some support down here. Here's some support down here, right? And so you've got to remember, when you're trading your time frame, you've got to also be able to back up. Let's go 15 minutes, right? Where's support on the 15 minutes? Relatively in the same spot, but not till a little bit lower, right? We trade to the 30 minutes, which is where we trade most days, right? You get a little bit of support down here, and then the next support's down here, right? And then people like the 1 hour chart, right? These all come pre-programmed. That's why, because people use them all the time. So here's the 1 hour support is not down till at 1302. And then people love this 4 hour chart. Where's support's all the way down here at that 1308. And so the thing is, and the reason I'm bringing this up, weak spot here at the 83 quarter as the market's trying to break its high. 85, remember, being the target here. The reason I'm bringing this up is because you have to think about these other time frame traders. If you are a day trader, everyone is a day trader. Excuse me. Everyone is a day trader when they place the trade, right? But not everyone cares about where they're going to be getting into the trade as nitpicky or at very specific levels as a day trader does, right? So if you're a responsive seller and your time frame is the 4 hour, that's what you trade on. Well, here is the level that you decide that you want to be a seller at. Okay, market gets up here. Let's see how it acts. It doesn't look strong, and you call the broker and say, "Hey, Bill, sell some NQs." Okay, thanks, bye. Right? And you're in here for this. And where's your target? You're looking at a bracket, right? So your bracket lows down at this 13,000. So when this gets down to 13,000, that's when you decide to call Bill back. If the market's starting to look like some buyers are showing up, you say, "Hey, Bill, get me out of that Nasdaq position." Bill cuts that Nasdaq position for you, right? But if you're in a 5-minute time frame, right? And you haven't looked out or you haven't zoomed out, you're looking at this 5-minute Nasdaq chart and it starts to break up to the high and you're like, "Fuck yeah, breakout time, let's go, let's go, let's go." And you go to buy it. Well, look what happens. You know what I mean? You have a responsive seller or an other time frame seller, a longer term seller who's trading on the 4 hour, who finds this area that you're buying into as an area to responsively sell. Who do you think's going to win that battle? You know what I mean? It's pretty clear who's going to win that battle. They win it every time, right? Big money. So if we can decipher that, right, what do we want to do? Right? Well, we want to be responsive because this is where he's going to sell at. So we don't want to buy into him because now we're just giving him free money. We want to buy responsively with these other buyers. And how do we do that? We find weak spots, right? Look, here's single prints on a 5-minute, right? Or a weak spot on a 5-minute that couldn't trade down. That's where we talked about this level down here. The 79 on the way back up wasn't able to trade below. We stayed in our long, right? Same idea. And if you're trading on a 30-minute, right, like we are, you're starting to see the market get a little bit tired, right? And starting to look early signs of a P shape, right? Which is indicative of short covering, right? Which makes sense when we zoom out because on Friday, the market got a little bit too short. So what we're monitoring for here is, are we going to maintain this bracket, this upper bracket that we're in? And this is the Nasdaq, this upper bracket that seems to be forming, right? Or are they going to look to trade back below and trade back into some of this weak structure down here? So, and this is the importance of why you have to, or you don't have to, I guess, you know, I'm not saying that you have to do anything, but the reason that I do a top-down approach is because of this exact thing, right? I want to know where these larger time frame traders are at so I don't get caught in a mess like that, right? Because if you're entering the market and you're like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna fucking crash right here," but you're not paying attention to the big picture. And I don't know if Jared's in here. He is. You know, he's really starting to understand this concept, but you know, just recently, advanced decline is tanking. Yeah, it is. You're right. And we traded right below that 79, right, which held earlier. So I got out at 84. So
That was actually Andy. Evidently my touch typing wasn't working as well as it should.
Hey, Brett, I had to step out. Did you answer Tommy's question about the gap day?
oh, hang on, my bad. There's gap
It
days
dropped
which
$1 and yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
do gap days which don't fill early tend to be a trend day, or can you still just balance? We could easily balance, yeah, because we could easily just balance higher, right? We could hold the gap and continue to balance. Remember, so let's go back here. Our last gap, it's way down here. I swear to God, sometimes this thing is just gonna fucking drive me mad. Oh, we can't go back any further. So here's a gap here. So here's the gap from before, right? We had this gap up, we didn't fill the gap, and then we just kind of, formed a P-shaped profile. Didn't really, just slowly kind of just balanced up higher. So yeah, I mean, it's still definitely opportunity to just, balance higher. But it just depends on how much, because typically when we open up on a gap, it is a inventory correction. So if inventory was extremely short, then typically you'll get a more significant response. But I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a trend day. Especially when we're at the top of balance, we really kind of need initiative buyers to step up to really push the top of the list. Short at 13,375, looking for 1322. So we're seeing the Nasdaq did break its B low, but the ES did not. Dr. VJ, sorry about this. I just saw your question, said the weak spot about the 85. No, I was saying that the target was the 85. So this is kind of where the selling, once we put in this poor low, or poor high, excuse me. Once we put in this poor high, that's kind of where these sellers were like, oh, let's get in. So our momentum traders started selling from this 85. That's what I mean by that. Information technology, look, coming down here pretty significantly, almost going to red. Yeah, no problem, Dr. VJ. Anytime, anytime. I duplicate this chart. Brad, when do you get a moment, can you explain the spike rules and what qualifies them to be in or out of play? Yeah, so the spike rules basically, and we can pull them up so we can just, because there's a couple of them. Typically when I'm looking for rules or things of that nature, I go to shadowtrader.net, go down to the bottom, click on the glossary. Click the wrong button. Sorry. Maybe not. Let me see. Hang on, I gotta make this big so I can see it. Oh, that's not what I wanted. It was down. Yeah, JD's course is a little bit pricey, that's true. Why is this like this? I don't understand. Where's all his definitions at?
How much is course?
Oh, it's like $1,000. Especially considering it's a recorded program. I mean, it's worth it. I'm not gonna lie. I think, but it is. I mean, it's expensive. That's
Oh, they're not live classes. They're recorded.
the intensive is live, but the the like the prerequisite class is pre-recorded. Okay, I found them. I don't know why I couldn't find them before. Okay, so here's our spike rules, right? The foundation is much more. I'm not sure how much the foundation is. But yeah, so here's our spike rules, right? Because the spike forms late in the day, it's impossible to gauge whether the higher or lower prices that have quickly ran away from are deemed fair later. Thus, we employ spike rules the next session. Everything below is assuming the spike is at the top of a daily range. Reverse it for a spike at the bottom. Number 1, if prices open above the spike, that is considered bullish and tells us that prices didn't auction high enough in the spike to attract sellers and cut off the buying activity. Right? So this, we know that the reason that the market moves up is to shut off buying. The reason the market moves down is to shut off selling. Right? And if you don't know that, now you do. Monitor to see if there is acceptance above the spike. So let's imagine that we have a spike here from Friday. Let's just assume this is Friday, right? And our spike ends here, and we are getting accepted inside the spike. We're finding resistance off the spike. So second rule would be prices open within the spike to confirm higher prices of the spike. This tells us that prices are fair enough for two-sided trade again to start to take place, right? And that tells us basically that we have to place responsive trades inside the spike, but use the base of the spike as a cutoff point in order to decide, okay, this is a spot that we need to get out of, right? But prices have been accepted higher, and if the two-way trading continues, there's good indication that they didn't get a chance to continue buying, right? And typically it's caused by a later time frame trader. A spike that finishes on the high is typically caused by an other time frame trader coming into the market a little bit later in the day. And then so the third rule, opening below the spike, is a more bearish and is considered a rejection of higher prices in the spike. So typically when we get a spike late in the day, but the market settles below the spike or back into value, this is typically, well, I mean, it definitely is considered a selling tail, which would tell us that a stronger term seller or an other time frame seller entered the market and decided to bring the market down a bit. The base of the spike would be, for me, I put the base of the spike at the low of M period. But you could also, well, you could also consider, where did we have a spike at recently? Let's see. Did we finish this down a spike? I think we did. Yeah, so we finished this day on a spike here. And you can see how it kind of retraced back in, and then the next day we didn't really get much going after it. And then the open for the next day was actually a little bit lower, so we opened far below the spike, showing that these prices were rejected. But so if we get, this late day spike, for me, I like to go from the impulse. So if I didn't get to see the M period actually trade, what I do is just mark the low of the M period, which is the last period of the day, right? But if I did see the spike, right, and let's say this thing went up and then we finished maybe here, then I would just consider it from that impulse area. That would be the base of the spike. So that's where I would be looking for the market to open up and then start to trade above, you know, above that level here. Does that help, Double R? E shape really starting to form in here. The point of control is at 80. And when we're thinking about this too, right? We're envisioning the rest of the day and how the day possibly can start to play out. And when we're talking about value, right? We know value is just higher. It's not because of the gap, so it's not overlapping or anything. You know, when we're considering how this is playing out, if D period trades all the way up to the C period, it doesn't really tell us anything, right? B period was inside A period, C period was inside B period and A period, and so far D period is inside the other three. So really, you know, we could honestly, you could, where the fuck is this thing at? Here we go. You could realistically split this profile here, and this is what your profile would look like here. So now that we had this big move up, we separate it, and now what does it kind of look like the profile is forming? Now it kind of looks like a lowercase b, a very tight range lowercase b, but indicating that possibly this move from the high is most likely just liquidation of people that were long early on in the session, right? Profit taking, right? Not saying that that's what it is, because we're just using our fortune telling or we're trying to look ahead of something that hasn't happened yet, which is an impossible task. But based off of the market indications, right? Look at the tick. You're creating this, you know, I should change these to gold and call it the golden crown or the red crown. And the weighted sectors are pointing up. Everything is, for the most part, green. Even financials has flipped green and kind of taking the weight off of the information technology sector. This is kind of telling us that this is just a bit of liquidation from people that were already long, right? And what would confirm that would be a break of the B high, right? Naturally. So, this is just how we're thinking ahead, but then we're thinking on the daily, it is kind of looking like a P. So maybe we're getting a combination of shorts that covered early on, and when we got to the high, we didn't find initiative buying in order to take those highs, and then we saw a little bit of liquidation in B and C and D, but we didn't get any significant downside letting us know that a responsive seller had entered the market, right? The way that we would know a responsive seller entered the market is if we had a selling tail, right? That's how we know. But we didn't get one. Just a poor high letting us know that buying is just dried up. And once buying dried up, shorter term traders entered on the 85. Longs that had decided, you know what, I'm going to call it on here. I'm going to take some profit. And then, boom, here we are.
Hey, Brad, question for you real quick.
Yeah.
On a P profile, if you're not already in a position where you're just holding like to wait for the top of that thing to break or whatnot, would you basically just fade the top and the bottom of the P part until it chooses a direction?
Yeah, for the most part. Damn, we're getting invaded again. This guy is just always in our shit. Yeah, so with that, that's where I kind of like break this off here, and then kind of just look at the profile, like if we were to break it here. Oh, that didn't work. Flip profile here. Not doing anything for us. Okay, well, I don't know why it's not, but if you just will use our imagination here. Oh, because we're doing it from the wrong fucking one. My bad. No, maybe not. But if we just use our imagination here, we're kind of just seeing balanced profile. So if this was just our profile, ignore this A single prints down to the low, we're kind of just seeing, you know, a balanced shape here. And so until we get volume above B that shows us initiated buyers, or volume below B showing us initiated sellers, I think you're 100% correct in taking those responsive trades at the lows and responsive trades at the highs with tight risk, obviously, because of how the profile, how tight the profile is, right? We don't have really a lot of excess on either side of B is even with A, right? C is pretty much even with the B, showing a little mechanical stop. So these sellers, or these buyers, excuse me, down here could easily just liquidate and then even flip, which should cause a stronger move to the downside. And then the same thing up here, these sellers could easily flip and cause some stronger moves to the upside as well. So, but yeah, I think you're like dead on with that. But then also,
Cool.
at least for me, on days like today, we have that, because we have that gap below, I'm a lot less willing to take a responsive short from the highs, even though it would have worked. It's just that's just
Right.
me personally.
Yeah, I was more so looking to like long the bottom of the P profile. Like I wanted to take that C A halfback long a couple times. I mean, he had like multiple opportunities. But I was trying to wait and see how it played out because I just didn't trust it. But we got a P profile, so that tells us we got short covering happening. We're on a gap up, which means we probably got a short position below us, holding the market up. So taking those longs from the bottom of that P profile with a tight stop seemed pretty safe.
Well, we've got to remember though where the P is forming out, right? So the only people that got trapped short causing this P so far are this day, because this is just balance, and the overall shorter trend is up. So when we see a P profile at the top of an uptrend, typically it's locals getting their shorts covered early, right? So intermediate or shorter time frame traders, maybe swing traders, something like that. If we would see a move down and then a P profile, then we could say, okay, but the trend is down, so these are just these shorts covering, but the short's not over, and then there's good odds that we get this continuation to the downside. And same thing kind of with this, right? So what we'd like to see, if we want to keep getting upside, is on a down day, we just want to see a B-shaped profile telling us that buyers that have been buying this uptrend are taking a little bit of profit, and then after they're done taking profit, they can re-enter at a level that they agree upon and get that continuation to the upside. So a P profile in an uptrend is a little bit less important, and I know that it's debatable, I guess, on the yearly what the trend is, right? For me, I think it's just bracketing, but lower, of course. But the P profile on the upside is a little bit less important than it would be if we were forming this back in, where's the yes? Like somewhere like right here, right? So if we start to get a B profile here, or in this area, like after this big move down, that would make sense, right? Or a P profile, excuse me, a P-shaped profile, because the market may have gotten a little bit too short. But this P profile here is really just these traders here. So there's just not a lot of inventory trap short as far as like looking for like a big liquidation break, you know what I mean? Whereas here you get a P profile, the seller is still active. At this point, we can kind of think, the seller should respond up here, but we would want to see, for this P to really liquidate, we'd want to see a selling tail first. So if we get a selling tail and then come back down to this level, that's where the odds are definitely going to increase that lows are going to break. If that makes sense. What, Curtis? What else are you going to have? Okay.
And what's it? What's a selling tail?
Selling tail is excess on the upside. Here, I'll be right back, guys.
Oh. Ah. 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 Oh my.
You okay, Kevin?
Yeah.
Kevin, were they pleasure or pain noises?
Yes, good. Got it. So what do you think about Brittany Griner, whatever, getting that 9-year sentence?
All right, I'm back. D period still sitting inside of E period, or C period, excuse me, with E period getting ready to start.
Ooh, ow. Hey,
What'd you
Brad,
say, Kevin?
what do you think about Brittany Griner getting that 9-year sentence?
I mean, I think that's a lot of time for a little bit of MJ, but also, you know, I mean, it's Russia, and it's not like she's never been there before. She plays there like every year, so you should know
Everybody
rules.
keeps saying, well, everybody keeps saying that, but you can easily get 9 years here for that, especially if you're a black person. You know,
You could,
or if you have,
especially if Kamala is the DA. So you'd throw your ass in jail.
well, and
forever.
if it's your third strike, you get life in prison. But you know, it's just kind of crazy because I think it's extremely provable case because you can do DNA on the weed, and if it's from here, then she's probably guilty. If it's from Russia, then she's not guilty because Russia has been let's take stuff in people's suitcases and accuse them of shit. So it could be that, but you know, I don't know. Like, doesn't she have handlers that, like, you know, make sure she's not doing shit like that? Like, I don't know, it seems ridiculous to even try to do things like that. You know,
I haven't looked into the actual facts of the case. You know, and honestly, everyone's making it political, and that's where it really turns me off to the situation where everyone's like, well, you shouldn't have fucking said you didn't want the national anthem, and now America's not going to save you. All right, Americans are Americans, so you know, it's that's the issue, is that like everyone wants to judge everyone for past mistakes, but if you imagine yourself, you know, things that you've done in your past, when you be judged every time that you do a wrongdoing or do some type of issue. What? Okay, well, just count the carbs, Curtis. 1 carb each for everything. Okay. You know, so if you're based off of all of your past mistakes every single time, you know, how can we how can we think about positive reform? Like, you know, the 3-strike rule, I'm not a huge fan of that because it just doesn't make any sense. Careful right here, guys. This low is starting to get a little bit heavy here, and it looks like the bids are, you know, possibly gonna let this thing come down to see if sellers are really about that life here. So just be careful. You know, so like, let's say you were a convicted felon for carjacking, right? But you were 20 years old and you stole your mom's car, and you and your mom didn't get along, and she called the cops on you, and you got in trouble for it, and the police press charges. So D period takes that C low. A little bit of short covering there on that 74.5. No real response from buyers yet though. You know, and then 40 years later, let's say, or 20 years later, you're 40 and you get caught with a dime bag of weed, and you're in a state that it's not legal. And then they're like, oh, well, this guy's got a history. He stole a car when he was 21. They don't care about the situation, right? So is it fair to judge everyone on their past mistakes? I don't think so. But that's just, you know, that's just my personal opinion. You know, I could definitely be wrong. A little bit of absorption down there on that 72 quarter. Watch for a response here. 629 lots trade on that 72 quarter. If it doesn't trade back down to that 72 quarter, we can just assume that those sellers are trapped at the low. There they go. They're going to push it back down. 700. So it looks like they want to break. $900, 972. There goes the break.
There it is.
Now watch for continued volume. Weak spot above here is that 72. Back to the high of balance there. You know, but it's just like, it's frustrating that everything has to be so political. You know what I mean? Like, why can't it just be, you know, an American got caught in Russia with
Everything political.
however
Human being got caught in Russia. You know,
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but with, like, you know, I don't know the amount that she had, but it wasn't significant. You know, and Russia's just doing this because they want, you know, they want something. They're like, oh, we want the fucking Lord of War back, so give him back. 2,000 contracts traded on that 70 quarter there, 70 half. Weak spot above is 71 quarter to 72. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's such a hard situation to just be like, well, you know, she shouldn't have broke the law. It's like, well, have you ever broken a law in Russia? You know, and been American? Like, what do you think's gonna happen? Imagine if you jaywalk in Russia and that's a law for them. They're just like, oh yeah, for Americans it's a year penalty. Sorry, you get to go to Siberia and just sit in jail for a year. You know, it's just such a political situation, and so I just, you know, stay away from it because it's just not. You can't have rational. You can't have a rational subject about it because it's irrational.
right? Plus, just being a black person, you're going to the whitest country in the world. I mean, you got to just, you know, be more. I don't know. The dumb thing.
The fact is she should have been smarter because she plays basketball in Russia every year, so she should know the laws, right? It's like, you know, if you are living in Texas, you know that Texas doesn't have legalized recreational marijuana, right? And you know that if you go to Oklahoma to get it and bring it back to Texas, technically you're trafficking drugs, right? Should it be that serious if you're just picking up a couple pods for personal use? In my opinion, no. But the law is a law. You know what I mean? So, and you choose to follow it and choose not to follow it for the most part. You know, sometimes, like, you have no choice, right? Sometimes someone just needs an ass whooping and you got to pass one out. But, you know, there's no way to,
right.
you know,
It is just crazy how political it is, though.
Yeah. And just like everything is. And then so you just, for me, I just ignore all that shit. I'm just like, man, wasting my fucking breath. Yeah, I feel bad for her because I'm sure, I mean, I've watched Locked Up Abroad and they got those Caucasian shepherds over there. And I don't know if you guys have seen those Caucasian shepherds. They're
No.
nothing, they ain't nothing to fuck with. You haven't seen these things?
What's it? No, what is it? See, Caucasian Shepherd?
Yeah,
No, what is it?
look at it.
What they
Look at-
said those
These are what they use at the Russian jails. I mean, look how big this fucking dog is.
You ever see that movie Midnight Express?
Like the kids movie? Or is that Polar Express?
No, it's the one where you're smuggling heroin out of Turkey or into Turkey gets caught. He goes to Turkish jail. That's a fucked up movie.
The Caucasian Shepherd.
Kind of a cool
It's like as
dog.
big as Warden.
Yeah, how
This
old
is how big
it?
our German Shepherd is. He's about, I mean, he's just not as fluffy.
How big? Oh, what is he?
I don't know how old he is.
What if he's
He probably is a puppy, yeah. Here's him when he's a puppy.
you? Would you?
Yeah. Otto, you hit your profit target? Hell yeah, let's go.
Many men.
Just a couple seconds, see? Like 10 seconds, I think. Supposed to be on low latency. Sometimes it lags. I said yeah. What the fuck does any of this mean? XZ? What are you talking about? You talking about this the profile here? So this is the market profile, basically a graphical representation of the auction process in which the market is. Right? We know that the market is a two-way auction, and this is how it's represented. This lets us know that well, it really just lets us organize the day, right? It doesn't give us any signals on when to buy or when to sell, but lets us organize the auction. And the market is constantly rebalancing inventory, right? That's basically all the market does is you know, you buy all your computer monitors down here, they get up to here, you start to sell them all. More sellers say they like this price at sell, they sell, they sell, they sell. Less buyers show up, the market moves down, and the market continues to move down until people stop selling their computer monitors, right? Once a fair price is agreed upon, you'll start to see a profile take shape, right? And this is a distribution curve. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that. I could talk really about it pretty much all day, and I do a lot of times. So if you're new to the channel, definitely check us out. Check us out on YouTube. If you're interested in joining the Discord, I can post a link in the YouTube chat. But over here, we have the tick, which shows us upticks versus downticks on the NYSE. Above, we had the advanced decline, stocks that are moving up versus moving down on the NYSE. Here, we have our sectors, all right? There's 11 sectors in the S&P, and this tells us, you know, based off of weight, starting at the top, information technology being the heaviest weighted sector, correlating with the Nasdaq, and this is the VOLD, which is volume up versus volume down. And then here, down here is just the Nasdaq, right? We're just monitoring the Nasdaq, but we flip through this bottom channel to kind of see, here's a little bit of Bitcoin balancing higher. Here's some gold still breaking out to the upside. You can see oil even started to move back to the upside. So AMD still getting a smackarooski down here. Amazon having a pretty decent pullback. What's that?
What are the two percentages on the indices? There's two percentages.
So the first percentage is the weight that it carries in the S&P 500, and the second percentage is how it's doing today.
That's cool.
So let's see on this retest of 70 if we get some buyers showing up down here. So break back into this lower balance. Let's see if prices are going to get accepted lower here. A little bit of short covering on the 69 right here. Still have a weak spot up in the profile around the 75 area, it looks like. So that's where these buyers, if they are going to show up, they're going to have to get the market back above 75 in order to convince me really that I'm going to want to get back into a long. If not, I'm just going to wait for this thing to kind of auction down and see if there's any response at this Globex point of control at 56, which was the trade plan from this morning. Where's my The volume looks like it's trying to come in lower here. Look, 1,000 contracts trade on this low. See if their target's going to be the open. It's 3K for that, all of that for Jim's courses. Yeah, that's kind of a lot. The bid sitting on the 67, 232 lots. A little bit of short covering on that 67 quarter there.
Most of crypto's coming down hard right now.
Most of crypto is. Can you please expand a
so.
bit more on your thoughts regarding BTC leading the market, as you said earlier? Yeah, so a lot of times that we've seen lately is crypto has kind of been a leading indicator if the market was going to break out or if the market was going to sell off, right? And the reason I think that is because here comes E period. So remember, we use these D period as, you know, kind of like a single print situation here. But so with crypto, it becomes like the most risky asset, right? And so typically people flock to less risky assets, right? And they call it risk off. So they'll go buy bonds, which I mean we haven't seen lately, but that's, you know, we're talking about typically. which we haven't seen really, but and then like, you know, they basically just get out of the tech stocks and buy, like, you know, the stocks that aren't going to move much, right? So they're not going to have much volatility, so they're not going to have opportunity to gain, but they have a lot less risk, right? And they call that risk off. And so you think about the things that have the most risk, well, that's crypto, right? Because it hasn't, you know, it really hasn't been accepted as far as like a legit form of currency or whatever technology that it's trying to get to. So when it comes to a breakout or a breakdown, typically people will flood into crypto because that's where the biggest gains are, right? Think about the percentage gains in a lot of the crypto. It's like 500, 600, 800,000%. Well, we don't really see that in a lot of stocks, right? You see, you know, a couple percent gain. I mean, that HKD or whatever, what was that, HDK, I think? HDK. Oh no, this is just HDK. Was it HDK? It was HKD. Yeah, HKD, right? We saw this huge move last week in HKD, which was, I mean, I don't know how to find the measuring thing. I deleted all the tools. But you don't really see this in a lot of stocks, even though last week we did. It's still just way up. But you don't really see this in a lot of stocks, right? As you do in crypto, where we could scroll through a crypto chart. I mean, this looks like a crypto chart. You know what I mean? Like, crypto charts look like this, and that's the increased volatility. So when we see a big flood into crypto or into or out of crypto, that typically tells us a little bit of market sentiment. You know what I mean? My market profile is on Thinkorswim. Or I mean, market profile is on Sierra charts. Excuse me. We just got the euro close at 11:30, so we're right at the top of this balance. Excuse me. Get a little bit tired. Yeah, Europe just withdrew the top prints out of the market. Yeah, so let's see if they get any follow through here. E period takes that D period low. Copper's still moving down. Well, let me look at the volume here. When do you think this started noticing this tendency? I think around COVID, you really started to notice it. Basically, when a lot of crypto started to just go on a tear, you know what I mean? Like you really saw crypto just, I mean, get out of control with a lot of things. Volume's about 1% more than it was on Friday here. So nothing really too crazy. See the weighted sectors dipping under the 0 level here. And the tick really, you know, starting to come down off the highs. That AMD put should be doing pretty good, huh? AMD is trying to hold the low. Amazon coming back down to its open, or coming back down to its Friday's close, excuse me. Google coming off the highs, coming down close to its open. Apple's coming back down close to its open as well. Yeah, Clipper, no problem. And it's just, you know, I kind of see it as like, you know, like sometimes like an early caution, right? Like all of a sudden, if I see Bitcoin starting to sell off, I'm thinking, oh shit, you know, maybe people are going to be jumping out of tech soon too. If they're taking risk off, then, you know, possibly it could be an indication. And if we look here, like on we'll try to be back up. If we look here, Bitcoin, right, and we think about when this push down kind of started, this is back in June. Market coming back to its open here. This long-term trend line that we've been following. Get anywhere, or what's the deal here? Just look at a daily chart. So we can see, right? Bitcoin started the big sell-off back in November. There's a break of the open. Weak spot on the profile above is right above the open. So those buyers that bought initially off the open are liquidating. But I mean, this was in November, and then the ES really didn't start selling off until January, right? So like I said, I think that a lot of this is like precursing some of the market. Big selling here. Breath is still pretty positive, which is interesting. Coming back down to that Globex point of control here. Starting to pick up some steam too. Right? Remember, pay attention to volume and tempo. If we keep getting volume and tempo in here, it could be an indication that they want to continue that downside. There's that Globex point of control. Big sell order on the 55. 112 lots. Google's coming down hard. This is an area that I was kind of looking for early on to try to get long from if we pulled down to close this. And right, look at the market's trying to close the gap. Still haven't closed this gap yet. What's your opinion on AMC, buy or sell? I don't know anything about AMC, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people are long on it, and been, you know, quotation diamond handing like a bunch of savages. But you know, I don't know, I don't own any of it and won't own any of it. It's more of just a gamble, I think. Right? Kind of like, you know, people saw the squeeze of GME and now they want a piece of it because they feel like they missed out and they're just, you know, holding on for dear life. Kind of like the Dogecoin thing, right? Similar, you know, everyone wants it now. I want it now, but no one's willing to be patient to wait for it. They're like, well, I'll just buy it, and then if it does happen, then it happens. You know, I'm like, that's great. So right here, Tommy, I'm looking, you know, to get long because it's the Globex point of control. We still haven't closed that gap. And it looks like a space where buyers showed up initially in the overnight session. And so, you know, especially if we're not able to close this distribution, which would be a close of the gap. But it, you know, it doesn't look like they're stepping up here yet. But, you know, if we get some buyers to step up above this Globex point of control, so there's the gap close, looks like to the tick there. If we get some buyers to step up, that would be a good opportunity, I think. You know, I mean, there's obviously opportunity on the downside. It's just I'm not really convinced of any downside yet until really we get below this half back, and then I think there'd be opportunity. Of course, I'm going to miss out on all of this, but you know, I'm totally I'm okay with that. Bot is out, 342 up for the day. Nice. And so as we're looking for it and as we're entering the previous day's range, we're really just looking to see if price is going to get accepted or rejected inside the previous day's range. If it does get accepted inside the previous day's range, then I think there is good odds that we trade back down to, I mean, the point of control, of course, but that half back, and that's where I'd look to see if buyers get accepted. So really at this point, the way that you could look at this is if the market stays below this level, especially with the weak volume here, we could look to see if they're going to get accepted below the settle, target the point of control, and this would bring us inside the value. And so we would target the value area low. If not, we would get a rejection and then trade back up to that Globex point of control where we saw the volume come in. I'd like to see it hold up there, and that's where I'd like to get long from. But I mean, for right now, I mean, the market just seems to be liquidating, and you know, it's just kind of a wait and see kind of thing for me. This is kind of the first time that we've seen E period actually give us any movement at all, to be honest. There was more downside at some point. I will need to work on leaving money on the table. Yeah, I mean, there's always more juice in the lemon.
But it's kind of, it's interesting that numbers are showing that it's actually looking to recover back up, but I don't see it. But the numbers, that's what the numbers are showing me. So that's why the bot got out.
Is that ice cream sandwich? I think it is.
It's the turkey show.
That's the brand. see. A little bit of bounce off that settle here. And so as we get closer to this Globex point of control, that's where I'm looking for my next trade. I want to see the market really establish above the previous day's range, and that would be this Globex point of control. And I like this area because a lot of volume from overnight came in there. I'd like to see us establish here, and the trade honestly would be back to the high, or establish inside yesterday's value area and then trade to the point of control and trade to the halfback, where I think we may see some responsive buying, or the value area low, which is down near that 25. Carbs is the Nasdaq's really getting beat up pretty bad here. A lot of volatility kicking on into the market here too. Carbs 40. Oh. And so for me, this is just one of those areas that I kind of just tend to stay out of until we establish above this level or back inside value. Good. What is your your pin? See, I just saw that. Weak spot above is that 55 quarter, is basically right below that point of control from Globex. This low is a little bit unsettling because it is very mechanical right off of the settle from Friday. So it does make me be a little bit apprehensive. The difference between initiative sellers or initiative and responsive traders, right? So if we'll just use Friday's profile, for example. So initiative buyers are going to be buying above value, right? And responsive buyers are going to buy below value. Some people call it a buying above the previous day's range, and responsive is below the previous day's range. I kind of narrow it to this value, because if you wait for either of these to happen, you might just completely miss what's going on. So I like to use value, but that's pretty much it at its most basic definition, right? Responsive buyers are going to show up at previous levels where price was accepted, right? Or below previous levels where price is accepted, whereas initiative buyers are going to initiate new prices above where price was accepted. My keyboard's dying.
Check your batteries.
Oh, there's no battery on it. I gotta plug it in.
Ah.
Yeah, no problem, man. You know anything about NinjaTrader chart settings? Yeah, I know a pretty good amount. You were down 22 points on the Nasdaq. Now you're back in the green. Hell yeah, good stuff. What questions do you have about the NinjaTrader? I'm pretty good with Ninja. Plug my keyboard in. Oh shit. Faded again. We're coming back up to that Globex point of control. See if some buyers want to show up around here. They're gonna target that weak spot, probably. What is that? 65. The open 64 quarter. So buyers are looking to get back above the open 64 quarter. Look for some volume to come in and then the market to start ticking up here. That's what I'm looking for, at least. I know we are one time framing down, and we have a very mechanical low, so it's a very risky trade, high risk trade that I'm gonna have to cut really fast if it doesn't go my way fast. I've had to reset your chart skin back to the default settings and not have it to a color. Had pretty basic questions, but thought I'd ask. I'm waiting for support to respond. Yeah, what I mean, oh, you're trying to reset your chart skin back to the default color, default settings, but not have it to a color. For that, I mean, you just have to click, like right click on your chart and go down to the settings, and then change the background color that you want. But if you wanted to go back to the default settings, you could just re-download it, like delete it off your computer and then re-download it, and then it won't have any of your settings, or go into your settings and then delete all of your settings under NinjaTrader, and it will, you know, it will reset all of them. $150 lots just traded on the 58 quarter. They're seeing a little bit of buyers start to lift the offer here as the market's starting to turn up. Remember, their first target's going to be the open if these buyers are really strong here. A risky trade is a trade that goes against the trend, really. And so, like, because we are one time framing down, you know, the trade should be to the downside. It's just I'm kind of basing this trade off my trade plan and what I think to be emotional traders doing kind of what they did on Friday, where they got a little bit too short early on and then started to trade back up. You see an offer coming in here around the 60. We'll see if it holds. But it kind of looks like volume stepping up here, to be honest.
Yeah, you called that for sure. Website.
Right, is that why you waited for it to get above the overnight point of control rather than taking it straight off the settle to almost confirm
Right,
that your trade was going to work, right?
exactly. Patience will save you so many times.
And get you paid.
And get you paid, yeah, correct. Remember, we have this previous high here. The T2 high is at 63, so we could see some selling before the open. People mechanically selling off of that level as well. So if you did take a long, like, you know, you want to cover a little bit of it here, even though we're only up about 4 points on this. Well, I guess I got filled on, what is this, 56.75, so not even 4 points. 3 points and a quarter.
And whereabouts was you sort of hiding your stop in the wheat in the low volume area just below it?
I had my stop like literally like right here where these single prints are at, but I had my finger on the flat, and if it started to tick down, I would have just jumped out as quick as I could.
Cool. That's the thing I have the problem with the most, I think, just quickly closing out.
That's
when it
psychology right
goes
there.
against.
Yeah. That's what that is, Tommy. That's just psychology. And it took me forever, I felt like, to really just be like, you know what, it's not working. Like, just cut it. And actually
Yeah.
something that I wrote in my journal yesterday. Let me pull my journal up. It says if your trade has a good location, it should improve early. That's what I wrote down. So like when I'm thinking about the trades that I'm getting in, if I'm getting in a trade, my trade should just start winning right away. And if it doesn't, then it might not be a good trade location. And that kind of gives me the confidence, I guess, to go against my initial thought, right? Because basically that's what you're battling at the most like literal form, is like when you get in a trade, you were a buyer and now immediately you're a seller, and you're telling yourself, okay, would I sell the market right here? And if the market looks weak, you know, it's like, okay, well, I need to get out. I can't be just sitting here waiting for this to happen for me. I need to just call it. What? Yeah.
Thank you.
So we'll wait for this seller to see if they're going to be selling the previous day low 63 to 64 quarter here. That's where I could kind of see them trying to enter back in. Jason, let's see. Pretty basic question. I do trade options, yeah. I don't typically trade options on futures. Most of the options I trade are on stocks. I mean, I guess I could trade options on futures. It's just I trade right here on futures, so I don't really look for it. That's a really good thought on the trade entry, and that should start working, adding that to the tool belt. Cool, man. Good stuff. All right, let's see what we got. F period. We've got a buying tail today on the low so far, and we've got a poor high on the top. Still can't figure out where that is. What are you looking for? Oh. So when you refer to responsive traders, you usually mean longer time frame traders, and mechanical traders are similar traders, but shorter term. Right. Yeah, so like, yeah, that is a confusing one, Double R, and I kind of see what you're getting at. So we should see, when I say responsive off of a mechanical reference, right, like a previous day's high, that 63, or a responsive trader off the open, I am thinking of that as a shorter time frame trader. Yeah, but because we're above yesterday's value, it could easily be a responsive trader, right? A responsive longer term seller. You know, I don't think that we're seeing that today. I think, like I said, this is mostly a psychology trade, which is why I was taking along on a one-time framing down market, which I, you know, very seldomly do, like almost never. It's like against my rules, and it's even written down in my rule book, like don't go against the one time framing market. But you know, there's always exceptions to rules naturally. But yeah, that's what I mean. Well, Alex, let's try to get you let's try to like zone in, you know, let's figure out a time where we can link up, or send me your trades. If you're journaling, send me your trade journal. You know, there's some people that send me their trade journals, and I think it helps like getting a second look at your trade journal. Trying to get Jared to trade journal for so long. He doesn't. But I think, you know, I think that could help getting a second pair of eyes on it. Yeah. Yeah. You don't know how to Gordon, what are you doing, buddy? Come here. What do you want? You lonely? Kids aren't giving you enough attention? Watch my drink right there. Alright, go lay down. Go lay down. Boy. You have them in your mind, but it's hard to get them out. So, do you keep a journal? So Johnson and Johnson broke below that low as well. Some of those remember some of those alerts that we put on earlier. Okay, so in your journal, right, you should be putting, look at this, these kind of thoughts here. Think about where's my breakdown of how I do my self-reflection. So here we go. Here's something to think about. Yeah, and the trade plan does come fast, and that's like I said, like it does take, it's like a separate set of skills to not only have a trade plan but actually act on the trade plan when the opportunity comes, right? But you know, things that you there are things that I think of when I'm in a trade is like, one, I'm thinking of what am I feeling right now? What is the market feeling right now? What just happened in the market? Did the market just sell off? Is the market ripping up? Is the market coming out of balance? Right? All of these things. And that kind of helps me set my tone. And so today, right, like I was very cautious staying in any long positions because of we're in an area where we can see a responsive seller, right? And I didn't want to get caught out of bounds, or you know, short in the hole, or a little bit off sides, right? And so I mean, those are the things that you just write down. Like write down where price is at and what you're expecting to happen, and then what actually happens after the fact. Write that down, and then that can compare to how, you know, how the day actually went, and then you can use that to compare, you know, if it was a solid trade plan, and if it did work out, what did you see that, you know, what did you recognize in the market as it worked out? And then if it didn't work out, what did you recognize in the market, or how did the market play out that made it really not work out? it is, it is a kind of a daunting task, and I think that's why a lot of people don't journal, is because they really don't know what they should write down. So the way to start is just write down everything that's in your head. Just, get it all out onto paper and then reread it, right? And it might just be a jumbled up bunch of nonsense, but eventually it'll start to, start to tick up. You don't have time? What do you mean? It's like in between the trades?
He's over trading.
Dear diary, I think the market sucks and someone should just give me the money. Yeah, if you're busy, I mean, that's tough because it does require like an extensive amount of time a lot of times to be able to especially build up like a nice journal. Um, and you could always do it like in the beginning of the day or do it at the end of the day and then compare it again, do it at the end of the day every day, or just set a specific time where you do it and then do it at that same time every day and then just compare it from day to day. And then slowly, as you compare it day to day, you can start getting more minute with your time frames and then, keep comparing from there. Offers moving down here still. Let's see if they're going to keep selling this thing back into the prior day's range. They weren't able to get up to that T2 high. They got up to, what was this, like 62 almost? 61.75. Big flush. The buyer's not willing to trade. Market looks kind of stuck right there. What is that? That's that prior high right there. Just tempo's starting to pick up. Volume's even starting to pick up. A lot of big buy orders came in on the 150, a 200 lot order, 152 lot order. So you wonder if it's a bit of short covering down there or if you're actually getting some strong selling. Nasdaq trying to break its low. Tempo. So tempo is at which basically tempo is like how the market's doing what it's trying to do. So like let's say, I mean, here we kind of just picked up a little bit of tempo on the downside, but then we got a little bit of a bounce there. But let's say, or we could use this morning, for example, right? We had a nice move up, but then the tempo just got real slow. So the market was trying to move up, but the tempo slowed. So if we can identify what the market's trying to do, which this morning it was trying to go up, now we got a liquidation. The market was trying to go up and then tempo slowed. So now it's not doing a very good job at what it was trying to do. And we could see, I mean, you look at this weighted thing, pretty much all the sectors are turned red. The breadth is still positive, which is just meaning that the unweighted sectors are still going up, where big money is kind of, or the bigger stocks in the sectors are turning down. But so now that we're moving down, right, and we have, what we identify these kind of as single prints right above the open, that's where that liquidation happened from all of these people that were momentum trading long and got stuck up here. And so as it comes down and we're coming back down, we should be continuing down, and the tempo should start to pick up if the buyers or if the sellers, excuse me, are going to keep on moving the market down, right? So tempo is just kind of like, you know, as almost as simple as it sounds. It's the tempo, like, is it moving fast or is it moving slow? And right now I would say the tempo is kind of picking up to the downside, right? F period kind of moved up, kind of slow, didn't make it back up to the open, and then now is, I mean, looking to break the low here, trading back to that settle. Didn't quite get down there, still about 2 ticks above it. Yeah, no problem. Really trying to break this low here. You would think if sellers were strong here that they would just flush this settle easily.
I'm totally confused on the market right now.
There they go.
There it is.
So now let's see if they can establish back inside. They're peaking back inside Friday's value. Now let's see if they can get accepted in the value, and then the target will be that value area low, and then really this 30 order, which is kind of where the upside, where it looked like to me that buyers kind of stepped up on Friday. You see the VPOC is up here at the top here, up at like 42, kind of right above the last, in which everything is flipping red. Except the Dow. The Dow's barely green. Gold is gassing to the upside. Not really. It's kind of pulling back now. A little bit of short covering down here on the 45. Let's see if they can get this continuation. So right here, what we'd like to see, if sellers are serious, we'd like to see them move down at this low period. You know, we got a bunch of volume down here, but we'd like to see them move down and keep it below the settle, back inside yesterday's value. That's where we'd like to see it, if we're looking to jump onto this short side, or if we're going to get the opportunity. Really, I'd like to see it stay below the settle with this volume that's coming in, and that can give us that nice opportunity to target Globex low, right? Point of control, T2 low 36 around the same spot, and that 30. But if we can't get established below the settle, it really kind of just turns me off to the idea, and then I'm just kind of considering this area just more of a chop zone and looking for it to get back above the 56, and then maybe establish for a long up there. But if not, yeah, here we go. Let's see. Offer's still moving down. Kind of doing a shitty job. Volume still coming in here. Offers moving down to that 46. So the offer moved down below the settle here. So let's see if they hold on this retest of 46 or they keep pressing this thing lower. Buyer's trying to absorb here, it looks like. Watch this 46 here. Okay, still there. Nice response from that seller. Volume is definitely coming in down here. Just look for these buyers to get out of the way. They're just trying to absorb down here, but they're not doing a great job at it. There they go. We'll see this offer move down from the 46. There we go. So quick move down to the last. This is that point of control from Friday, the VPOC. So liquidation just keeps coming in. If they can keep coming down, target that 36 is the next target down. 800, 900 contracts on the low here. They're just 1,000. The volume's definitely moving down. Offers moving down here to the 41. There they go. Next target's going to be that 30. Well, after that 36, if they can get below that 36, but the next after that will be the 30. Some bigger buy orders coming through there. 102 lots on the 38.50. Mechanical low. Curtis, what is that? Back inside the previous months, yeah. So remember our key area up here to the upside is 46. That's where we saw that big offer. So if this thing does catch a little bit of a bounce, we want to see it hold below 46. If not, we want to cut our shorts off, right? So if you're giving it space to breathe, that's going to be kind of your last straw, that 46. Well, for me, that'll be my last straw, 46. Two closes inside value usually mean we'll retest value area low. Right. Right. Two. So if we get H period or G period, excuse me, that if it doesn't go all the way down to value area low, but it does close inside value, typically that'll tell us that we are going to retest that value area low, which is down around 26. Value or volume coming in here. Remember the offer here, that big trade came through on the 40. I would like to see these offers still hold around the 40 and keep holding it down below 40. Get some continuation. You can see the Nasdaq or Apple's really taking a bath here, but the Nasdaq also is really kind of leading this downside. Like buyers are getting aggressive on the 38.50 here. Let's see if they've got the stones to pop the market up or if they're just going to give a quick relief. Jesus, 17 text messages? Oh my God. So as we come back up to this 46, this is where I'd like to see these sellers move down and initiate some shorts, right? They responded up here, responsive sellers, but inside value, they typically have to initiate some new shorts. And that 46 is really kind of where the impulse was that pushed us past that low. And there is an offer sitting on the 46. It's 200 lots about. So I'd like to see it hold. I'm not a huge fan of us trading back above that 40 to continue this short, though. That 1748 is pretty big, a lot of orders traded there, and for some reason market doesn't give a shit. Nvidia might be at fault for tech. Yeah, well, I mean, let's not say Nvidia. How about fucking Nancy Pelosi? Probably just liquidated all those calls she had. Yeah, bitch. That's Nancy. It's crazy that, like, you know, it's just crazy that they're even allowed to trade at all. To me,
What about what you say?
it's crazy that, like, senators and shit. Looks like some sellers are getting trapped down here, guys. Careful. 43 and 44 just had some sizable trades happen on them. Okay, there's a 44. Still a sizable trade. There it goes. Okay. Made me get scared for a second. But you know, it's crazy to me that these these senators and stuff are allowed to trade the way that they do. You're right. They're getting privileged information pretty much all day.
Yeah. It
You
should
know?
be, it should just be in a blind trust. In fact, your bank account should not be one more penny than you make for your salary at the end of the month. You know, I mean, there's some kind of shit going on because it helps you get rich in government.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Diane Feinstein's worth like $140 million. She's been making 100 grand for the last 40 years. How's that math?
Right. Same thing with Nancy Pelosi. She's worth like 120 million. She makes like 120K a year.
Well, that's why she's Speaker of the House, because she's not a good leader, but she's awesome at collecting money. But she's getting money out of people. Just by the sticker there.
Well, and that's why, when you have such a large country, it's that, like they say, a tribalism. If you guys have ever heard of tribalism, it only works with up to like 200 and something people, because eventually, people start to take advantage. And especially in America, we have such a huge you know difference in, like, the poor to the rich, right? There's such a big gap
Massive, more than the Phoenicians.
that they get people to
I watched a
just
study
not care.
about groups. They're saying that like we try to start a community that 8 people is the optimal number of this huge study. And like more than that, there's problems. Less than that, and taking enough stuff done.
The All In podcast, I haven't heard of it.
You would really like that podcast.
It'll have to wait. I'm on a reading kick this year, so I'm on a journey that I gotta finish before I start a new journey. Was it 160 double R? Yeah, I knew it was something like that, like 200 something, like 160. That makes sense, yeah. Look, a bid stepping up on this 44 quarter here. You wonder if those sellers are trapped or if they're just covering down here. We're getting volume off of the low right at that 46. Yeah, that's where I heard it originally. Double R was on a Joe Rogan podcast. And then I read a book about it after. Yeah. That's originally where I heard of it because I was like, damn, that's pretty interesting. I want to read about it.
About what you're talking about?
Tribalism. And how, like, you know, like, because tribalism in its, like, you know, if you think about it, is really like communism, but it only works, you know, when there's a small group, because once it gets into a large group, people start taking advantage because people can't pay attention. And once people aren't paying attention, you know what I mean? Like, imagine if you were to go to the grocery store, if you think about it, if you just surveyed 100 people, you go to Walmart right now and close the doors and tell everybody that's in there, hey, there's no security, so you can either take your stuff or pay for your stuff. What do you think people would do, right? There would be some people that pay for their groceries, but there would also be a lot of people that fill extra in their cart and steal it all, right? And then there'd be people that just get what they need and they would just leave, right? And that's, you know, just like a regular, you know, like a tribe, right? Like, if you think about it, you have kind of the same idea where, you know, like fucking people take more than they need, and don't provide anything, or because they know that they can't get in trouble, then they just break the rules even more, right? And some people are just honest people, and they're just like, you know what, I just need what I need, and I'll just go on about my day. And that's why, you know, communism doesn't work.
Well, communism doesn't work because it's too centralized and it turns out corruption, just like a union, so it always ends up being corruption at the end. If you got the corruption,
I don't know, I'm kind of a fan of unions. Because I think unions, I mean, I'm sure there is a lot of corruption in unions, especially higher up in the union, but a lot of times, you know, the unions,
oh, unions are great.
yeah, they help
But there
the
was a
people that
corruption.
can't, yeah, they just help the people that can't help themselves or don't have the
Yeah,
power.
if we didn't have unions, we still have kids. We still have kids working in factories, and no fire escapes, and no handicap.
And no one would get any breaks. All right, G period open up. We finally get some true single prints now. So G period's opening up inside of yesterday's value. They defended that 46 on that first test pretty well here during F period. So let's see if G period's going to close these single prints. That'll give us a little bit of an idea about how strong the selling response was. Do you mean that all the politicians are dirty? I don't think all of them are. I think there's good politicians, but
No,
I think that you know, given a chance to do the right thing for themselves or do the right thing for their community, you know, 9 out of 10 times they're probably going to pick themselves. Yeah, if communism would work if it wasn't for human nature, right? Human nature just, you know, people are, I mean, it's just, yes, it's just human
well,
nature.
the thing is, most people don't know what communism is. Most people learn communism in school and they try to actually do the opposite of communism in school. It's like socialism. They don't just do it for a year. Other teaches how it doesn't work, you know. But the only country that ever had a communist better than the U.S. that actually beat the dollar was Venezuela in like '74 after they socialized oil.
And then we saw what happened. Got ruined. naturally, because people are evil.
Well, that was the Americans who were evil when they fucked it all up. That's what we've done to every socialist country.
Human nature is to take advantage of weak, right? See an opportunity, take advantage of opportunity.
I wonder if that's human nature or if it's something that is, taught like racism. Because kids aren't racist, like 2-year-olds.
I don't know. I mean, there is like, at least in my experience, like, I mean, you kind of learn everything. So it could be just learned, but you don't know what the cues are of it being learned, right? Like some kids share toys and other kids don't. You know what you know? So like, it's interesting, especially even with just my kids. You know, my daughter's not a big share of toys, but my son will share all of his toys. So, you know, they grew up in the same house, raised the same, you know, but
So when there's like if there's like a gene that some people have, don't have. This is what I think about these people, these megalomaniacs, these sociopaths that are super rich and they just want to fuck everybody. It's like, I mean, is this something they feel like a gene that they have, that no people don't have, or don't have that other people have? Like,
or is it a subject of opportunity, right? Because it's so hard to say, if I gave you the keys to a bank and told you no one's going to be in that bank and you could go steal all the money from the bank and you'd never get caught, you know, who's not going to do it, right? Who's going to not break the law? How many people do you think are not going to break the law? Because it's a subject of opportunity. So if you had an opportunity to make a bunch of money off of Nvidia, would you do it? You don't know, because you're not in that situation. You know what I mean? So it's really hard to cast a stone because we're not in that situation, right? And we like to think, of course, naturally, I would never do that. You know, I wouldn't do that, but you really don't know until you're in that situation. Just like, you know, a lot of people in the army, or a lot of people that are not in the army would be like, oh, I could never go to basic training. All right, Adam, have a good day, man. Like, I could never go to basic training because I'd fucking punch a drill sergeant if he got on my face, right? Like, you know, I doubt it. And a lot of people say it, but a lot of people aren't about that life. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm tough as fuck. If bullets start flying, I'll be good. But you don't know until you're in that situation, right? You don't know how you're going to react. You don't know until bullets are flying, until a gun's to your temple, you know, if you're going to piss on yourself, or if you're going to, you know, remember all of that martial arts training that you trained so hard to disarm people with. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know until that situation actually arises for real. So it's,
that's why they say that locks just keep honest people honest.
yeah, I mean, I believe that. Like, that's it. And I mean, that's what laws were created for. Because and that's the thing, I got into it with a lady at a grocery store one time, or at a gas station actually one time, because she was shit talking me for wearing a mask. And I was wearing the mask because I didn't want the guy's gas station that I was in to get shut down, because in California, if they come in, public health or whatever could shut his gas station down. And that's how he makes a living, is he runs this gas station. And so, you know, but if there was no laws like that, I could just wait outside of the gas station. No, she called me basically she called me like a scared little bitch for wearing a mask. And you know, and so like if there wasn't laws like that, I could just wait outside the gas station, wait till she buys all her stuff, and then just take her stuff. Right? No laws. So I'll just have all your shit. And what's she gonna do? Stronger than her? Faster than her? You know, I'm higher on the food chain than she is. That's like the wild. And that's how the wild works. There is no laws. You know what I mean? It's you know, so they're there to keep the animals in the cage, because some of us are fucking animals, right? But you know, you strap a couple laws to it and make it, you know, see the consequences. And I don't want to spend my time in a 6x6 box or an 8x8 box. So
I think we'll be finding out real soon how people react to this. Because I mean, honestly, I don't know how I would, you know, if I had a kid and I did food out, I don't know what I would do. Did I shoot somebody?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You don't know. And the only thing you can do is kind of train for these situations. G period trying to take this F low now, guys. A little bit less volume here, but the tempo's starting to pick up a little bit here too. You can see the push down there a little bit. Poor low here. Should have done it. Yeah. All right,
Kevin really
guys.
was incredible, though. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna call it here.
What was that doing? Good job, man.
Appreciate it. But yeah, you guys have a wonderful day. Hopefully, you know, everyone is doing okay. Everyone stayed patient and stuck to their trade plan. Make sure that you are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. If you don't have a trade plan, don't trade. And if you don't know how to make a trade plan, check out the trade view from today. I detailed it, you know, a lot today because I know a lot of people are struggling with these trade plans. So really check it out. I typed up all the questions that I normally just go through in my head and write down. And so, you know, it's become more of a second nature to me, but I know it's a little bit more difficult till you kind of see it. And I know seeing it can help it, or can help it stick. So, you know, give it a check out. Let me know what you think. Let me know some things that you do with your trade plan that help you. I'd love to, you know, add them to mine. Like I said, I'm always trying to improve. I think that we can all learn from each other no matter what part of this journey that we're on, right? You know, maybe along the way you find a nice fishing spot that's got some good fishing in it. Just let everybody know. Be like, hey, I've been doing this. It's been working really well. Check it out. But yeah, you know. All right, Tommy, I'll catch you later. Double R, catch you later. Reyes, catch you later. Trin, catch you later. Jay, Clipper, Jason, Bomero, Bear. See you guys later. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the Discord. All right, Pop, catch you later, man.